Hello, I'm Christopher Thompson, and welcome to another edition of Chris Speaks. It's been a while. I've been busy, just haven't had the inspiration or the ability the feeling that I needed to do a video. So let's do another video. Let's update things. It's been about close to a month since the school shooting in Florida, where basically the city was Parkland. I can't remember specifically the name of the high school, but everybody knows what I'm talking about, where the guy, ex-student, who was had been on the rifle team that was sponsored by the NRA. Yes, the NRA helped train this guy. Thank you, NRA. Let's give them a round of applause. And the guy went in there and basically killed 17 students in a matter of seconds. Managed to leave and go to Walmart and get a drink, and went to McDonald's to get something to eat, because their lives were nothing to him. It was just like another day where he could go get something to eat and something to drink, because their lives meant nothing to him. And since then we had a big thing, and the NRA's kind of gotten in hot water, where they've lost a lot of their sponsors, because these students came and they spoke out, and the NRA really ringed them. They really came in and they really went after these kids hard, and that's what the NRA does. But usually they go after adults, and people weren't having this. They were just really laying it down hard on these kids, and all these kids were doing was saying that they were scared, and they were saying how they watched their friends die and they don't want them to die anymore. And what made it so easy for this guy to kill so many people quickly was an AR-15 rifle. And I'm gonna say what other people who have been in the military, like myself, have said, but the gun people don't want to hear. And they've told me, oh, you weren't in the military, you don't know what you're talking about. And I've had people tell me, oh, an M16 is a machine gun, which is not even close to being true. The only difference between the M16 I fired in basic training and the AR-15 is a 3-round burst mode. The 3-round burst mode on the M16 allowed you to fire 3 consecutive rounds. But even in that case, it didn't really work well. We didn't use it because it jammed the gun. So other than that, I could, if I did target practice with an AR-15, just like the M16, I could probably hit a target. It'd take a little practice to get my my skills back, but I could shoot a target about 200, 300 yards away. And this, and people, well, it's a semi-automatic. Yeah, semi-automatic, and this was also, well, one finger pull is one shot, but this is what a semi-automatic rifle lets me do. One finger pull is like that. If it lets you pull the trigger very rapidly, with the if I was to pull a trigger as fast as I could on a semi-automatic rifle, probably in about a minute, I could probably fire 80 to 90 rounds. And this is fact. This is the fact we're getting to. And okay, and they all want to. Then we have the NRA that pushes this untrue. What's the word? This untrue idea that the Second Amendment is without any bounds, like it has no limits. But yet, neither the gun aficionados or whatever, the guys who like the guns, who are part of the NRA, or the NRA themselves, are pushing to legalize machine guns. But why not? If there's no limits to the Constitution of the Second Amendment, then why are you okay with a ban on machine guns but not semi-automatic rifles? You're somehow saying there's limits and it's okay, but not when you don't like it. So basically, this is what the NRA says, and this is what the gun rights people are really saying. They're saying, yeah, it does have a limit, but we as the gun owner should be able to determine that limit. Well, since when? Why would you get to determine that limit? Why do you get to pick and choose how the rules are made? And first of all, they don't really follow the Second Amendment. They skip a whole entire verse. I'm gonna read the Second Amendment here for you. Okay, here's the Second Amendment. And this first part is never mentioned. The first part, this is how it begins. A well-regulated militia. See how that first word, well-regulated, that first phrase? But they say we shouldn't be able to regulate anything in the First Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. And as a state, they don't mean a state, they mean the country. They refer to countries as states. So basically, it's already saying the purpose of the bearing arms is to protect the country, and not not to rise up against the government. That's this Tree of Liberty thing that Thomas Jefferson said that people decided to link to the Second Amendment that has nothing to do with it. Okay, well, I'm like not even reading it. Okay, let's start over. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. The right of the people to bear arms shall not be to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, it seems like right there that it requires a militia, and it's not talking about Bundy militia, these Bundy militia guys that are just crazy guys with guns. No, they mean a trained, regulated, basically a military force. Would have been like a civilian military force. The equivalent of that would be what we have today with the what is it? The Army Reserve? No, not the Reserve, but the what's the other one? The National Guard. Basically, the National Guard is the closest thing we have to what the militia was. So basically, the National Guard has the right to bear arms. And this is military arms. I mean, they did allow, this is not saying that they didn't allow people to hunt and stuff. And the whole thing is it wasn't, as far as I heard, it wasn't until the 20th century that there was really, and probably the creation of the National Rifle Association, that there was even this idea of a personal Second Amendment right to bear arms. That isn't to say that people didn't have guns, but to think that you have this unfettered right to own any gun you want is not true. And it's the fact that people aren't demanding to have rocket launchers or machine guns, or even demand the right to open carry a samurai sword, because it doesn't even say what kind of arms. It doesn't say firearms. So, and knives are arms, right? Most states have very, very strict knife laws on what knives you can and can't have, and what knives you can and can't carry with you, what kind of blades. But nobody has a problem with that. And where's the American Samurai Sword Association? This is points I'd make, and it'd probably just piss off the gun people, but it's true, and it pissed them off because they couldn't reason through it. They'd have no reason. They'd just say that's stupid and want to fight me or something. Okay, so let's get back to the school. So ever since there's been all these walkouts, now first it was locally, then it was all through Florida. There's been a march on Washington, and now there's walkouts all during school. And not the gun rights people, and just conservatives in general are talking crap about these kids and say they're being brainwashed by liberals. Maybe they are the liberals. First of all, they're not. No one's putting them up to this. They're acting like these kids are stupid. They think they're stupid, but yet they want to give them guns. You don't think they have the right to make up their own mind and can't make their own decisions to stand up against something, they stand up for what they believe in, and stand up against violence that's aimed towards them. You think they're being manipulated to say, please don't kill us? They can't come up with the idea to say, we don't want to be killed anymore, and we don't want people to have these guns where they can kill 17 people in a matter of seconds and go to McDonald's for dinner. And you have all these conservatives talking trash to them. They're exercising their First Amendment right. They're exercising their constitutional rights. But all these gun people hate the First Amendment, and all they want to talk about is the Second Amendment that they never read in the first place. They want guns, guns, guns. I'm going to give props to these kids. These kids are doing great. I love that they're out there and they're protesting and they're standing up for their rights. And no, George Soros nor the aliens or anyone in Congress or reptile people are funding these marches or whatever. These kids are standing up for their rights, and if you have problems with people protesting and have problems with activists, you have a problem with this country and you have a problem with the Constitution. If the only thing you care about is your guns and the Second Amendment's the only thing you care about in the Constitution, you might want to read the Constitution. You might want to know what your rights are, and activism is how we get stuff done. Sitting there and bitching and throwing shit at the TV isn't how you get things done. Whining and crying about I love my guns doesn't get stuff done. I think it's great, and I think it's good to get things done. Another thing that happened is in that town they're really going out. I don't know, they may have caused the guy to resign. They really were going after the sheriff because of the deputies didn't act like as quick as they should. But really, they weren't going after him until he stood up to the NRA, and now all the conservatives have called for his resignation, which you can't say nothing against the NRA or they go after you. And this is another thing, the NRA, man, they don't care about you. They don't care about your Second Amendment. They want to sell guns. They don't want, only a good guy with a gun can stop the bad guy with the gun. But they want the bad guys to have the guns too. They want to sell the guns to the good guys and the bad guys and the guys in between. They don't care about you. They're not a gun club. That's the face they put on there. They're the lobby for the gun industry. Nobody cares about your rights. They just want to make money. And this whole thing is hell with the gun companies. This is what I say to the gun companies. This is what I say to the kids that are exercising their First Amendment right. Yeah, go for it. Let your voice be seen. Oh, and going back to, okay, so the NRA again. Okay, so the Florida government, they did not do a ban of semi-automatic rifles, of course. But what did surprise me, being a very conservative state, is that they did raise the age from 18 to 21 to buy arms, which is crazy that a hot-headed 18-year-old could buy a gun and go shoot people up. And also, I think they limited the amount of bullets that a clip can hold, and they did something else. But anyways, they did a few common sense things for gun control. I think they did more background checks or something for mental illness or something. But then the NRA sued them for that. And then we got all these conservatives saying blah 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 that these kids are being manipulated to protest and blah blah blah. They're not old enough to make that decision, but they're old enough to make the decision to buy a gun and not be smart enough to not shoot people up. I even saw someone that, oh, they shouldn't be able to vote at 18, but they should be able to buy a gun and not shoot people up. Okay, you're not smart enough to, but please buy a gun and you'll be responsible. Okay, well, this is all I have to say about that, and hopefully I'll see you soon, and not in another, 8 months to a year. Sorry, just had a lot of things going on and just hadn't had time, or I just didn't really feel like I really had anything to say. Well, alright, let me find the way to stop the capture. Alright, I'll see you guys soon. This has been another episode of Chris Speaks.